Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As probably some of you know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew of JFK, the former US president that was assassinated, wants to be the next US president. So he's going to run for office. I think that he would be a very good president, but the problem is exactly that. Because he might be a very good president, he is not going to be the US president. I know, you would tell me, hey, how do you know, man? This is a country, a republic that, uses democracy to elect, the representatives. Well, that's a different story. You have a mass media, you have the so-called elites, and you also have the people who count the votes. And many more, including the below 86 IQ strata of the US population, which is everywhere, not only in the United States of America. So I have here an article that I think will tell us one reason why Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a good president, and I think that is gonna show us the reason why he will not be supported by everybody that I mentioned so far. The big special interests, military-industrial complex, banking system, energy sector, and obviously the elites, and the mass media, and some people who are just, if you know what I mean. So let me read you this little article coming from The Enemy, and it's good to know your friends or to keep them close, but it's good to keep the enemy even closer. So Sputnik, it is from today, the 7th of May, 2023. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says Russia faces, and I'm quoting, existential fight it cannot lose in Ukraine. So this little statement right here will disqualify him for anyone trying to elect this person. Because I think he's right, and I think existential fight, I think that's very accurate, and it cannot lose in Ukraine again. I totally agree with this person right here. So let's see what else we have in this article. All of Washington's decisions since the hostilities in Ukraine escalated in early 2022 have been about prolonging and maximizing the violence and bloodshed produced by this conflict, Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. insisted, speaking in a podcast interview. And I'm quoting, "The Russians cannot lose in Ukraine, as this is existential to them," end quote. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. underscored as he spoke with the host of the All In podcast. He added, and I'm quoting, "We are being told they are losing, but they cannot afford to lose," end quote. And I'm quoting again, "Russia has been building up its forces, and it has an artillery advantage," the Democratic presidential candidate pointing out, adding that the US, which has been funneling vast amounts of weapons to Ukraine, does not have the ability to replace the arms lost in the conflagration. I don't think that US doesn't have the ability. I think it has the ability, I don't think it has the will. Washington has been doing everything to prolong the Ukrainian conflict, and the Biden administration has been displaying, and I'm quoting, "absolute intransigence," end quote, regarding the many opportunities to end the conflagration. But this can be explained by the fact that the US has been on, and I'm quoting, "a mission to maximize casualties to prolong what is essentially a war of attrition," end quote, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said. The lawyer turned politician took a step back at this point in the interview and said that, and I'm quoting, "the real story started in 2014 when," and I'm quoting, "the US government and in particular The neocons in the White House and elsewhere participated in and supported the overthrow of a democratically elected government of Ukraine. End quote. Well, Mr. Kennedy, I think you and I are on the same page. That's why we are called Putin Sturges or something, right? And propagandists. So you must be one. Maybe you're on Putin's payroll. Pretty sure that will be in the free media headlines. And I'm quoting again. They helped to install in Kiev a very anti-Russian government. This government started enacting a series of laws that turned the Russian population of the Donbas region into second-class citizens. They illegalized essentially their language and culture and then ultimately began killing them. End quote, he said. Oh my, that's gonna get you arrested. This is what prompted Russia's response when it started its special military operation in February 2022 to protect these people. The Ukraine conflict could have been settled if the Minsk Accords of 2014 had been followed through with, believes the politician, underscoring that there was no question that Washington has been actively integrating Ukrainian forces into NATO, something that Russia's President Vladimir Putin said from the outset was a quote-unquote red line, end quote. Looking ahead, Kennedy said that Kiev regime cannot continue to fight without US support, and that it has become president, and if he became president, he would settle the conflict. As for the incumbent in the White House, incompetent, not incumbent, he changed the words, Democratic POTUS, Joe Biden, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. acknowledged that he was a quote-unquote go-to-war guy, end quote. And I'm quoting again Mr. Kennedy, I would settle this, reiterated Kennedy, underscoring the need for a de-escalation tensions with Russia and questioning the very need of NATO. You too? Are you like Trump now? Yeah, because they're on the same payroll, right? Right. And I'm quoting again, the principal job of a president of the United States is to keep the nation out of war, end quote, John F. Kennedy said. Well, keep it out of war if you can, but if you're attacked, and these guys claim we are attacked. These remarks echo what the Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said earlier in the month when he pointed out that Ukrainian President Zelensky had a chance to avoid a conflict with Russia by simply refusing to join NATO. And I'm quoting Mr. Kennedy again. In 2019, actor and comedian Zelensky ran as the peace candidate, winning the Ukrainian presidency with 70% of the vote. As Benjamin Abelow observes in his brilliant book, How the West Brought War to Ukraine, Zelensky almost certainly could have avoided the 2022 war with Russia simply by uttering 5 words. And I'm quoting those 5 words, I will not join NATO, end quote, Kennedy said in a tweet. Oh my God, you're gonna end up worse than another relative or other relatives. When Robert F. Kennedy Jr., 69, tossed his hat into the presidential race, he explained his motivation to run as stemming from the, and I'm quoting, rise of corporatism in the country, end quote, as well the fact that the modern Democratic Party is, and I'm quoting, becoming the party of war, the party of censorship, the party of fear, and the party of neocons and Wall Street, end quote. Mr. Kennedy, you them up. Well, the thing is, I know many people think like that. Many people talk like that. But not many people have your power. And your power is not necessarily in the money, but in the name. And it seems like maybe he's gonna get some support from people that who really, have something in here. I'm not discarding the other ones as not having in here. Some of them do, like on this side, some of them don't. The problem is, it's an ideology. When you have ideologies and the ideology leads your reason, then you have to frame everything in that ideology. It's like you have a hammer and you look always for a nail. See this? Glasses. Tung, 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 tung. See this? Mouse. Tung, 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 tung. I can find a nail everywhere if I have only one tool. So I don't know who's going to be the presidential candidate for the other name, not the other party, the other name, because these are the same party with two different names. But this definitely will be one of my first choices so far. I know Donald Trump could be the other side if he will survive by then, but the same is true for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as well, if he survives in 2 years. And that's another thing. Let's say he wins. Do you think that he will have any power? He will have as much power as Trump had when he was barking orders to his departments, and the departments like, whoop, whoop, yeah, I'm going to do that, Mr. President, I'm going to do that. And nothing happened. So I think the same thing is going to be with this gentleman. If he's going to get over there, he's going to bark orders. Nobody will listen to him. His employees, his departments, that he's the boss. And by the way, a lot of those guys, are from the security state. The security state will just ignore him, as they ignore everybody. We have a state inside state within state. And the problem is that the big state has no power over the little state that's inside. But the little state which is inside has power over the big state. It's all right. There was a... maybe I should not make this... give this example. But it was... I'm going to give it. In the 1930s and 40s, early 40s in Romania, there was a party, and that specific party was a far-right party. It was I don't know how you want to call it, but it was far-right party. He supported that guy in Germany, the bad dude. And this party at one point got in power with the help of the king and so on. They got to be in charge, but they were kind of like a criminal organization as well. They assassinated some politicians, because those politicians, when they were on power, they assassinated some of their guys. So it was I give you back, I pay you back. So these guys, when they got in power, they were like an organization, state in state, kind of like they were doing certain things what they wanted. The problem is that they were eradicated by the Romanian army at one point. They collaborated with the Romanian army, but when the Romanian army had a different, the leader of the Romanian army at that time, had a different take, he eradicated these guys in, I don't know, a week or so, not even a week. They killed everybody. They killed these guys scattered all around the world. Some old people, like when they were young then, are still alive in the United States, in Canada, and Western Europe, not much, but they ran away. So here you have the security state, which are a few departments and, how should I put them nicely, agencies. And then you have the military. The problem is the military is part of all this. But maybe the military one day will get a hero, like, I don't know, Patton, General Patton. And maybe he will do the right thing and save us all, like in South America. I know these guys have a problem with that, but I hope we don't get that point. But how are you going to get those guys in check? Do you think the Senate and the House will just say, we're not going to finance you anymore, we're going to... Who do you think has the power? Those guys who talk, or those guys who have everything they want? Anyway, who do you think let's say a senator or whatever wants to send some arrests or whatever to some of these guys? I'm just exaggerating. Do you think that anybody's gonna get them? You remember what happened with those guys that showed up in front of the Senate, and because Trump, those texts, you remember those texts, and so on, CIA, tra-la-la-la, struck and all that. Where are they? Back on the saddle. They were fired, their pension were taken, I think their pension they're back now, and so on. Why? Anyway, I support this guy, I like him, and we'll see how long these guys are gonna allow him to keep talking shit. You know what I mean? Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.